Okay, this one is for Sarah, who is making a part to a violin. And this is a little bit trickier, but not too bad. We're going to start by making just the basic outline of this. I'm going to start with the very bottom part here. So the main thing that I see is a circle. I know it's rounded there. I'm going to make lines that are tangent to it that go up some distance. And I'm going to use some geometric constraints to make sure the lines stay tangent to the circle. Also going to make sure that the center point of the circle stays connected vertically with the origin, and that the two endpoints of the line are on the same horizontal plane. Okay, now I'm going to make a line for the top of this piece. And I can't tell from the picture if that's curved at all. I'm going to assume right now that it is not. Use a vertical constraint to find the midpoint of this. It should be that little green dot in the bottom here. And then I'm going to use an arc to kind of come down a little bit and then attach from there to there. I'll make sure these two arcs stay tangent to each other, and this is tangent to this line. And as long as I like what I'm looking at, I'm going to make another line that turn into a construction. So I highlight it, right-click construction, mirror these two arcs across this line, hit apply, trim out this part of the circle. We don't need that. And then I'm going to extrude this a distance of, I don't know, something that looks about right for what we're doing. So the overall thickness of this part. Okay? This little hole is tricky unless you think about how they would have had to make it. So my best suggestion for you is going to be to make a plane that's on the top of this, but we want to make it as an angle. So normally the best way to do this is we click plane, and you click on an edge, and then a surface as a reference, and you can change the angle. Now we're at a disadvantage with this part because the edge that we want to make this on doesn't recognize it as an edge because it's a circle. So we're going to cheat. We're going to make a new sketch on top of this. We're going to make a 2-point rectangle that is going to be tangent to this geometry. So we have a flat edge here. I do want it to go down and not up, and add material, not cut material, and we will fix that later. But for now, we have a flat edge, so I can say plane, click this edge. Oop, miss. Let's try it again. Click this edge, click this surface, and now if I look at it from the side, I can see the angles here. So we don't want a 90. What do we want? Let's try some things. 120 looks the opposite of what we want. That looks a lot closer. You will need to get a protractor and figure out the angle that this was drilled. Once you know that, we'll make a plane that same angle, and then make a new sketch on this plane. Now this turned out a little funny, so I'm going to go back a step, right click on the plane, I'm going to go to flip normal, and see now this side's blue, the other side should be red. Now when I go to make a new sketch, It still didn't do it. I want to look at it from this side. There, I should be looking right at it. I'm going to slice graphics here for a second. See if I can't project geometry. It's not going to be nice to me, of course. I do know where the center is. Should be able to find the diameter of that. And extrude, cut, both sides, distance, all. Okay. Now I have this little cove here, like what you have here. I did say that we were going to get rid of that little flat part, so let's do that now. So I click to make those both projected, make it a 3-point arc. That's my start point, that's my end point, and this tangent to this line, so I can click there. Okay, as soon as we close off that shape, didn't like that. Let's go to Sketch Doctor. So if ever you get stuck, right click, you hit Sketch Doctor as long as you're still in sketch mode, diagnose the sketch, and a lot of times it fixes things for you. Successfully closed. Now when I go to extrude, I can pick on both of those, cut, distance, all. Cool. Looks good. Now if you look at this part, it has a flat piece that goes across the top here. I'm just going to make a new sketch on this. I don't know how far down that goes, but it doesn't look like very much, so I'll say 0.01. I'll change the direction to going in, but change it to adding material instead of cutting material. If I look at this from the side, let's see if we can't get a new sketch on this plane that goes through the middle of it. I believe we can just cut that whole section off. I can't tell if I'm doing this backwards or not. I think I might be doing it backwards. Let's go this way. Again, this is something where you'll need to figure out what the angle is, but I want to get rid of that funny little cut there. The only thing that's important to me about this particular sketch is where this line cuts through this part and this bottom part. So you'd measure from this point to this point and this point to this point. You can use construction lines. So draw a couple of horizontal lines, highlight them both, make them both construction. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it from here. Because I know about where they should be. But you will be dimensioning from there to this line, and from there to the bottom of your part. And if you trim surface trim. If you trim so that you have endpoints, oop, wrong side. Actually, I think that didn't work because I didn't have that projected. Let's try one more time. Trim. So now I have an endpoint. I can use this coincident and have that endpoint attached to this line. I would then have these reconnect and do the same thing with this one. Now, I don't really care because I'm just trying to make a quick video. So I'm just going to go and cut this off. Both directions. Cut, distance, all. Probably shouldn't have cut that whole rounded part off, but easy fix for some other time. And if I remember in class, you already had these cut out, so not a big deal, but I can go and throw those in real quick too. Okay, easy thing to do here is make sure all of your centers are horizontally aligned with each other. Make sure all of your circles are equal to each other. I would draw a line between each one. And by drawing 3 separate line segments, I just want to start with just 2 separate line segments. I'll make those equal to each other. Draw a 3rd line segment here and have that one with a vertical constraint, so that midpoint matches with this origin. Have all 3 of those be construction lines. Create little circles above them. Here I'm using the little lines it gives me to line things up, so I know it's lined up with the middle of this, the middle of that. And I went down until the bottoms are all aligned, so I don't really have to worry too much about that. I should note the whole reason why I made these line segments is so I can go through and measure the distance between them, between centers. Of course, if you don't want to measure the distance between centers, you could always draw in a line segment this way. Make those into construction lines. And with your calipers, you can measure the distance between the two by pinching between here. And that's also effective. Okay, I'll use my trim tool. And trim those out. Change that to cut. Distance is all. So it goes all the way through, and I believe this has a funny kind of a shape to it as well. That's going to be similar to what we've done before. So here's plane on an edge with reference to that surface. Again, you would need to figure out what the angle would be. I think that's going the wrong way, so let's go instead, let's see here, 90 plus 80 is 170. Oh, that might be wrong too. Maybe I'll start with 10 degrees. No, that'd be cutting down. Sorry, you're gonna have to play with this. So you draw a line like